Airport Road, I noticed a van that was behind me, but I didn't really worry about it because I thought, well, he's further enough behind me. I didn't think he was following me or anything. I continued driving, and I came to a stoplight on Airport Road. I stopped at the light, and it was 2 lanes, so he and his van stopped beside me. He looked over to my car, is what I'm assuming happened at that time, and he decided that he was going to chase me. I was continuing down Mayfield, and it got really dark. It was like a desolate sort of gully. There was no homes. It was, you know, really, really quite desolate. And I was driving along, and I saw the van coming. He came up on my left, and I thought he was going to pass me. But he didn't. Instead, he rammed right into my side of the car. I couldn't really understand how it happened. It was kind of weird, but, you know, I thought, okay, I'll sit here and I'll wait till they come out. So I was sitting there and nobody was coming out. So I sat there and I started flicking my lights on and off and beeping my horn. And about 3 or 4 minutes later, a guy came out, and you know, he didn't look like a businessman. You know, he wasn't a 9-to-5 conservatively dressed sort of guy, but he also wasn't like a biker guy. Like, he looked like an average guy. He had on a leather jacket. He looked fairly neat, fairly nice, you know. He came up to my side of the car, and I had already rolled the window down about 6 inches, and I had locked my door. I was, you know, a little leery of the situation. And he came up and he asked me if I would move my car in front of his van, then he could shine the lights of his van on my car and we could assess the damage on my vehicle. So, you know, my gut feeling was, okay, get his license number and go to the gas station and call the police. I'd never been in an accident before, and I thought, if I leave the scene right now, well, maybe I can be charged with hitting and running. You know, I just wasn't sure, and I didn't want to take that chance, so I thought, okay, I'll move my car up, so I did. And he flashed his lights on, and he got out, and he was assessing the damage, and I decided I'll get out, and he went down into the ditch, and he said to me, well, I'm looking at the damage on my car. He said, on my van, he said, why don't you come down and take a look at it? And, well, I just thought, no, there's no way I'm gonna go into the ditch. I didn't go down. I said, okay, well, you just tell me what the damage is. And so he came back up again, and I was getting really scared. So I said to him, I said, well, there's a gas station right down the road. I said, I'm gonna go, and it's open 24 hours, I'm gonna go call the police. And I turned to get into my car, and all of a sudden, he just grabbed my throat, and he whispered in my ear, just come with me. And, well, I knew at that moment that, well, I was probably gonna die. And I remember just seeing my face on the sun and the star, you know, girl murdered, and I kept thinking, how is my fiance Tim going to react to this, and how's my family going to react to it? I just knew I was going to die at that point, and it all started happening really quickly then, and he just got me down on the ground. I'm not quite sure how, if he tripped me or what. I think he pushed me because I went with quite a force. And then he got on top of me, and he was kneeling on top of me, on top of my knees. And I remember looking up to his face and thinking, oh my God, you really hate me, don't you? He was just so cold. It was giving me such a terrible glare. And I started yelling, you know, please don't hurt me. Why are you doing this to me? Just let me go and I won't tell anybody. And he hit me on my mouth. And I knew he split my lips because I could I could taste the blood. And then he went to my blouse and he started ripping my buttons off. And then he went up my skirt and he started to rip my nylons off. And I started just, clawing at the door to get up. We were in the middle of the road at this point, and I guess he realized that this wasn't a good place to be because, well, obviously somebody could come by and see him. So he knew he had to get me into the van, and his van. And so he started dragging me, and he took his one hand and he grabbed a big clump of my hair, his right hand, and he was grabbing my hair and he was pulling me, and he had his left hand around my neck, and he was really just yanking me and pulling me, and I could feel like I was fighting back, and I could feel the hair coming away from my head, a big clump of hair. He was pulling so hard, and he was just grabbing me so tight I could barely breathe, and I was just trying to keep my breath and trying to keep conscious and trying to fight it. And as he was dragging me, I noticed the wheel of my car. And I thought, I've got to get my legs around that wheel, and I've got to hold on for dear life because, I thought, I'm going to die, but you're not going to get me in that van and rape me. And so I just took my legs and I just wrapped them around the wheel as hard as I could, and I just held on. And he just kept pulling and pulling, and the hair, like I could feel it separating from my head, and I could barely breathe, and I just kept yelling, please don't do this, why are you doing this? Just let me go home, I won't tell anyone, just let me go home. And he didn't say anything, he was just so cold. And at that point, we both heard a car in the distance. I thought, I've got to say something, so I said to him, there's a car coming, and they're going to see you, and they're going to catch you. And thank God, it just scared him enough. He decided to take off. He was scared, and he got into his van, and he started to take off. I was able to get the license plate number. I went to the police station, and I was sitting there, and I had told the police to call my fiancé, but please don't tell him what happened because he would have just came over in a blaze, and I was afraid he'd get in an accident. So Tim walked in, and I guess he was expressing all the emotion as soon as he found out that I should have been expressing, but I was just so happy to be alive. And he just looked at me, I guess, and I must have looked a mess because my lips had been both cracked, split, and I had a big cut down my nose, and my knees, I had like 5 inches of scab across my knees from being dragged on the ground, and I must have looked a real mess, and I left the police station, and I was just so happy to be alive, and it really hit me what happened, and I'm still dealing with it today, I'm afraid to go on the highway by myself. I'm afraid to go to a hotel alone, and I still have nightmares. I still deal with it every day.
As you've just heard in the previous testimony, the main reason the woman allowed herself to be victimized was her concern over leaving the scene of the accident. In a situation like this, where you feel potential danger, leave the scene immediately and contact police. Women in business need a new level of training. They need training in attack prevention. The Traveling Alone in America program will help give you the training you need to recognize and hopefully avoid a potentially dangerous situation.
And I'm still dealing with it today. I'm afraid to go on the highway by myself. I'm afraid to go to a hotel alone. And I still have nightmares. I still deal with it every day.
have protected your mom if I was there.
I know you would have, sweetie.
Yeah, right. What would you have done? Thrown your teddy bear at him? I punched him in the head, I would have handcuffed him, and I would have thrown him in jail. Case closed.
It's getting really cold outside.
Coffee?
Oh, I'd love one, thanks. And I'm ready to order, too, if that's okay.
Fire away.
Okay, I'll have a bowl of your chicken noodle soup and, a toasted bagel with some butter, please.